So this is a booster box of Twilight Masquerade. This is the newest Pokemon card set, newest main series Pokemon card set. Came out a couple of months ago. Obviously, we have a couple new sets that are coming out soon. Shrouded Fable debuts in like a couple weeks. That's just a specialty set. So what that means is you have Elite Trainer boxes. That's kind of like the capstone. There's not going to be any booster boxes or anything like that. The Shrouded Fable Elite Trainer box has been delayed. That was originally supposed to come out on August 2nd, and now it's been delayed to August 23rd. So the only Shrouded Fable products that will really come out are like the special collection boxes featuring Greninja and Kingdra. Those promos are absolutely amazing. Then you've got the mini tins. I think there's one other product that comes out at the same time. Then you have a few weeks before the Elite Trainer box comes out, and then a couple weeks or a week before like the booster bundle comes out. And then in the middle of September, we have Stellar Crown, which is the next main series set that comes out. A little bit smaller of a set. We do have our bundle on sale right now on thecardcoliseum.com if you want to check that out. But Twilight Masquerade has been like all the buzz lately because this booster box has jumped up to like almost $120. And my question for you is, why? Why are we seeing, why has it jumped up so much? Now, there is a multitude of different reasons. Number one, pull rates have changed a lot. But I don't know if you can really say that for Twilight Masquerade because they already started changing in Temporal Forces. Twilight Masquerade, very similar pull rates to what we saw in Temporal Forces. The big difference is really the chase aspect of things. So we've got content creators, we've got all this buzz, all this news, everything going on about Twilight Masquerade because of the potential to pull that special illustration rare Greninja, which unfortunately with pull rates being the way that they are, it's like 1 out of 700 packs, something ridiculous. It's a lot of packs that it's going to take you to find that special illustration rare Greninja. And it could take you a lot more than that, but pull rates being a little bit more difficult where you're only getting one special illustration rare per box. This box, or not even one special illustration per box, one every 2 boxes, this box could feature no special illustration rare in it at all. Now, we're not going to open it, but we are going to talk about Twilight Masquerade and if it's really worth $120 to open up. Now, this is really where the gambling aspect of Pokemon cards comes into play, because if you take out that Greninja and if you take out that Eevee, there's a few cards that are kind of being manipulated right now. I don't know if Greninja is really one of them, but the Eevee, the Kieran, there's a lot of noise going on with some of those cards. The other aspect of things is that Twilight Masquerade booster boxes are just not readily available at distribution. We had this shorter allocation. It seemed like booster boxes got allocated a little bit more for a multitude of different reasons. It could be just because they are sourcing more product to big box stores. It could be because Pokemon is just kind of pushing back on the amount of booster boxes that they make. Because they don't want to oversupply and overflood the market like they have had to do in order to meet demand. So those are different factors that could be impacting the price of Twilight Masquerade booster boxes. They could have more coming down the pipeline. We could see a whole slew of reprints that hit at the end of the year. We could get more Scarlet and Violet 151. We could get more Paldea Evolved booster boxes, and we could get more Twilight Masquerade booster boxes. Right now, none of that information has been given, so we have no idea. And because of that, Twilight Masquerade continues to just tick up a little bit more and a little bit more because of the potential, the gambling side of things, of pulling a $250 card. Now, we have not had any cards from the Scarlet and Violet block reach Greninja levels. This is uncharted territory for a lot of Pokemon card fans because everything else is relatively inexpensive. You have the Charizard Special Illustration Rare from 151, the Charizard Special Illustration Rare from Paldean Fates, and the Carmine Special Illustration Rare also from Twilight Masquerade. Those are the only 3, I believe, that are still worth $100 in the entirety of Scarlet and Violet. Then you have the Greninja Special Illustration Rare, which is like $250 and continuing to climb. Very interesting. A lot of it is probably because of the amount of attention that is being paid on it. Honestly, I don't think you should FOMO about it. I think more and more products will hit the shelves. More packs will be ripped. If you love the Greninja and you absolutely have to have it for $250 because you're afraid it's going to go up even higher, I'm not here to stop you. But don't FOMO. Don't go crazy about it. I think there will be continuing opportunities to get it at lower prices at some point in time. But I'm going to flip you guys around so you can see exactly what it is that I am talking about. So this is Twilight Masquerade pull rate data for what we opened. Now, this has every single card in it. We pulled multiple copies of every card except for one. For some reason, I could not find that Hearthflame Ogerpon SIR to save my life. I have no idea why. It took 3,000 booster packs to find it. And when I made this spreadsheet, this was with only 2,376 packs that were opened. And at that point in time, I still had not pulled the Hearthflame Ogerpon. So we're not going to talk about that, though. We're going to talk about the average value that you can expect to pull from your Twilight Masquerade booster box with Greninja and without Greninja. So what we do is we basically calculate calculate pull rates for every single rarity in Twilight Masquerade in a set. So that way you can get a good understanding of what to expect out of your booster box. You could get 11, 12, 13, 14 hits, somewhere around that aspect, but then you have it broken down by how much of each rarity you are expected to pull. And then we associate prices, so the going rate for pretty much every single card in the set. So if we look at the regular arts, the double rares right here, starting with Sinistra all the way down to Blood Moon Ursaluna, basically everything in this list right here is only like $2. It's basically just a bulk EX card with the exception of just a few. So you have the Luxray EX right now, which is selling for just over $2. We rounded it up a little bit, so $3 for that one. The Dragapult EX, now this card could swing quite a bit depending on how it does at Worlds, but as of right now, not as competitive as I think a lot of people were thinking it was going to be. A lot of people were hoping it was going to be, and because of that, it has dropped like crazy. Currently selling for only about $3 for the regular art variant. There is one other variant of it, which we'll look at in a little bit, the ultra rare, the full art Terra, but the regular art not doing too great. The one that is doing well is that Teal Mask Ogerpon. We were talking about this a couple of days ago in the last video. That one is currently selling for $8. That one paired up with the Raging Bolt has done a very good job, and with Worlds coming up and League Challenges, League Cups already starting up for the next season, a lot of people kind of focusing on that Teal Mask Ogerpon, on that Raging Bolt, and we'll see how it does moving forward, how it performs moving forward. But lots of different variants of the Teal Mask Ogerpon. You have the Hyper Rare, you have the Full Art, and you have the SIR, but $8 for the regular art, not too bad. If we look at the ace specs, nothing that really jumps out of the page at you. Everything made a lot of sense when it came to pull rates. You have one as low as 17, that was the Hyper Aroma. The one that we pulled the most of was the Legacy Energy at 26. The best one of the bunch is the Unfair Stamp right here. We pulled 19 of those. That one is selling for about $5. You do not have a Prime Catcher situation in this one. So when it comes to Temporal Forces, you have that ability to pull Prime Catcher, which is about a $20 card because that is the best ace spec that has been printed so far. There could be a better one in the pipeline, in the works, but as of right now, Prime Catcher is the best one. There is other ones that are basically you play it depending on the deck. So there are some decks that you might play something like Hyper Aroma, so that way you can evolve into 2 or into 3 stage 1 Pokemon basically on your second turn. Unfair Stamp is still a very good card, but not as useful, not used as much as what we see from Prime Catcher. Because of that, Unfair Stamp is selling for $5. Everything else basically just $1. So just $1 for those ace specs right there. Then we've got the illustration rares down here, and outside. Now, the illustration rares for Twilight Masquerade are absolutely unbelievable. I think these are the best illustration rares we have ever had in any of the Scarlet and Violet block. Arguably right up there with Paldea Evolved, which also had some amazing artworks when it comes to special illustration rares. It looks like Stellar Crown is also going to have some incredible ones as well. But Twilight Masquerade definitely has some absolute bangers. But for the most part, a lot of them have dropped down in price. A lot of them are very, very inexpensive. So there wasn't really anything that stood out as far as the amount that we pulled. You can argue the Fion right here. We only pulled 5 of those. That was the one that we pulled the least of. We only pulled 6 Torkoal. Now, we've talked about batching before on batching conspiracies and things like that. Things that get printed in one area of the United States might go to a certain distribution, and there might be more of batching could be a thing. I'm not here to argue about it, but it is a little weird that we only pulled 5 Fions, but then we pulled 13 Dipplin. But we don't have a great sample size here. We only have about 2,376 packs, which is still a large amount of product being opened, but it's weird that we did not pull a single Hearthflame SIR, but we pulled 5 Lana's Aid. So we're not going to talk about batching, but we did pull 13 Dipplin. The least one that we pulled, like I said, is Fion right here. So between 5 and 13, which isn't too much of a variance, I guess, if you want to, all things considered. But the price points, so Pinsir, beautiful card, only selling for about $5 right now, which isn't bad. The Dipplin and Applin are actually not too bad either. The Dipplin, $4 for that one. You've got a couple that are basically bulk pricing right here at $2. Then you've got the Infernape, which is absolutely stunning. That one has gone up a little bit since release day, so that one's currently selling for $12. The Frostlass and Fion are only at a few dollars right there. Cramorant, Heliolisk, Wattrel, Trimeco, Enamorus, those are all $2 cards. You have this beautiful Hisuian Growlithe that pairs up with that special illustration rare Perrin to make a little picture. It's absolutely gorgeous. Only $8 for that one, which isn't bad. So definitely not really manipulated on that one. Still very affordable. You've got a couple dollars for Probopass, Timber, and Laron. Applin is only selling for $3. The Tatsuguri, the Sushi, has dipped a little bit. That one's down to $9, and that's a beautiful card as well. Chansey has retraced a little bit. That one was above $20 at one point in time, getting bought out, but more and more copies have hit TCG Player, and because of that, it has fallen in price down to about $16 and continuing to trend downward, which is great. Eevee is the one that it's clearly being bought up I don't think it's necessarily normal buy-ups. Now, part of it is because there is lower stock of sealed product when it comes to Twilight Masquerade, but Eevee has exploded. I'm sure there is a lot of demand for Eevee, so I'm not going to say it's unwarranted, but I will say it's not natural in my mind. It's not organic in my mind to jump up from basically a $40 card to a $70 card in the span of a few days, especially this late after Twilight Masquerade released. I thought maybe something like that would happen at the beginning of Twilight Masquerade releasing, but the fact that it made it a couple months before doing it, it's just not natural. Eevee has jumped up to $69 and continuing to trend upward. And then you've got the Sunflora, which is currently selling for a couple dollars. If we look at the ultra rares, the full arts right here, again, nothing that really stands out. Only 5 caretakers, only 5 Lucians, which is okay. Those are probably the ones you don't want to pull. The Teal Mask Ogerpon, which is the most expensive full art. And this is another thing to take into consideration when you're opening booster boxes and determining value. So you're like, what product can I open to get the most bang for my buck? You want cards that you pull more frequently to have a little bit more value. Now, ultra rares, these full arts, you get like 3 of them per box or something like that. So you want them to have a little bit of value. Unfortunately, there's really just not a whole lot in Twilight Masquerade that does have that. You compare it to like Paradox Rift, there's a lot more that are in the upper single digits or lower double digits. Teal Mask Ogerpon is the only one in double digits out of all of the full arts in this set. So that one's currently selling for $11. Everything else at the top here, you look at Sinistra, you look at Magcargo, you look at Hearthflame, you look at Palafin, you look at Wellspring, you look at Luxray, those are all $2. The full art Luxray is currently selling for less than the regular art Luxray. The Iron Thorns EX, there was some thought that might be playable. That one's still kind of in limbo right now. That one's selling for $5. The Greninja EX Full Art Terra, that one's selling for $5. The Dragapult EX, again, not as playable as people thought it was going to be. Haven't found a great partner for it yet. Now, it could get figured out real quick, and then this card will blow up. But $9 for that one. A couple dollars for Blissey, Blood Moon, and Caretaker. You have $6 for the Carmine. That's the regular one, not the special illustration rare. Kieran's at 4, Lana's 8 is at 3, Lucian's at 2, and Perrin's at 4. So not a whole lot of value in those full arts right there. If you look at the special illustration rares, here's where the craziness ensues. So you do have some that are relatively inexpensive, like the Sinistra right here, the Hearthflame and the Wellspring. That Hearthflame, the one we couldn't pull, is the cheapest one out of all of them. That one currently selling for $18. The Wellspring Mask and the Sinistra are both at $23. Then you have one that's a little bit more expensive, which is the Teal Mask. Now again, that is probably because of its playability. That's impacting that a lot. $39 on that one. And then you have this Greninja right here, selling for $230 and continuing to climb in the upward direction. Cornerstone Mask Ogerpon is at $19. Blood Moon, which is still a very fun card to pull, that one's not doing bad. That one's at $81. You have $108 for the Carmine, and then you have a little bit more expensive for the Kieran, which has jumped up a lot, $54 on that one. Now it does seem to be retracing a little bit. We've got $33 on the Lana's Aid and $81 on the Perrin. So a lot of value when it comes to the special illustration rare. Granted, you only get one for every 2 booster boxes now, so you don't get them as much as you used to, which is going to impact the price a little bit, because if demand is still there and supply is lower, obviously the price is going to go up a little bit. We'll look more at that in just a second. The hyper rares, for the most part, relatively inexpensive. The Buddy Buddy Poffin, very competitive card. That one's currently selling for $38. Everything else, barely in the double digits. The Teal Mask Ogerpon, because of its playability, currently selling for $16. The Blood Moon Ursaluna is at $12. Enhanced Hammer at $9. Rescue Board at $13. And Luminous Energy currently selling for $8. So if we break this all down, and we're just going to look on the left-hand side over here, we're going to look at how many of each rarity you can pull per booster box, and then the average price point for each rarity. So that way we can associate the average value that you can expect to get out of your booster box. So, for example, if you open up a booster box of Twilight Masquerade, you should pull about 6.24 double rares, 6.24 of those regular arts. Now you could pull 6, you could pull 7. Obviously there's an average for a reason, but your average price point is only $2.57. Yeah, you could pull that Teal Mask Ogerpon, which is about $8, but everything else is basically $2 or $3. That's why you have an average price of only about $2.57. That means the total value that you can expect to pull from your booster box is only about $16.04. So you should get about $16 worth of value in the regular art category, in that double rare category from your Twilight Masquerade booster box. If you look at ace specs, you should get 2 per booster box. You might get 1, you might get 3, but you should get 2. That's pretty much almost every booster box that we opened up. We got 2. There were some boxes that were a little bit wonky, but your average price point is only $1.67. If you don't pull that unfair stamp, your ace specs are only going to be worth $1 a piece. That means you're only going to pull about $3.19 worth of value out of your Twilight Masquerade booster box when it comes to A-Specs. If you look at the ultra rares, again, not a whole lot in Twilight Masquerade that has a whole lot of value associated with it. Remember, we looked at it, only one that's really selling for any double digits at all. For the most part, they're right around the mid-level single digits. So you pull 2.42 in your booster box. So you might get 2, you might get 3, but the average price point of them all is $3.48. And because of that, you're only looking at about $8.44 worth of value out of your Twilight Masquerade booster box when it comes to those full art ultra rares. If you look at average illustration rares, you should get 3 per booster box. Very rarely will you get less than that. Very rarely will you get more than that. Average value, average price point on those is $7.33. Now, this number is severely skewed because of the Eevee that you could pull. Obviously, that one's selling for $69. That one is more expensive. That is really weighting on the average price point right here by a few dollars. Because of that, your average value per box is about $22. So $21.99. That's how much value you can expect to pull if you're including that Eevee in when you're looking at your average value cost. If you look at average special illustrationers, again, 1 per 2 boxes, so 1 out of every 68 packs. Average price point on them, though, is $61.73. Again, this is greatly impacted by that Greninja. The Carmine does play an impact, but not as much because you still have the Kieran, which is doing okay. You still have the Perrin, which is doing okay, but it's being very much impacted by the Greninja right now. Because of that, you are expected to get about $32.74 worth of value out of your booster box. Now, this is pretty much an all or nothing scenario because it takes 2 booster boxes in order to open up 1 special illustration rare. So you could open one up and it could be that Hearthflame, and that's the only one that you're probably going to get. You could open one up and you're going to get no special illustration rare at all, which is going to obviously take this value away altogether. If you look at the average hyper rares, it's 1 per 3 boxes, 0.32 per booster box, 1 out of every 113 packs. The average price point on hyper rares is $16. Again, probably impacted a decent amount by that Buddy Poffin, but because it's so difficult to pull, you're only looking at about $5.09 worth of value out of your Twilight Masquerade booster box. So if we break all this down and add all this up, if you include Greninja and Eevee, you are expected to pull about $87.48 worth of value out of your Twilight Masquerade booster box. When you look at the bulk, the code cards, the ancillary cards in Twilight Masquerade that are not ultra rares, there's not a whole lot. There's not a whole lot at all. Monkey Dory is a great card, a very competitive card. However, it's very easy to pull because there is a holographic rare in included in every single pack. And because holographic rares, they haven't printed a ton more of them, that just means they're going to pop up a whole lot more frequently, which means Monkey Dory is just going to be easy to pull. That means your total box value is $97.48. That's the average if you're factoring in Greninja and Eevee, if you're factoring those into the equation. If you take those out, it goes down considerably. So if you look at the average value and you take out Greninja and Eevee, you don't factor that in. So you're just like, I want to open up Twilight Masquerade, but I don't want to worry about Greninja and Eevee. It'd be great to pull it, but I'm not going to consider that into my fun cost estimates when I determine if I want to open up this booster box. $66.56 is the average value that you can expect to pull if you don't include Greninja and Eevee in that. Your bulk value stays the same, but that means your total box value comes down over $20. So you are only expected to pull about $76.56 if you take out that Greninja and Eevee. The box cost, as you can see down here, has jumped up quite a bit over the past month or so. So really since the middle of June until now, it jumped up from basically a $100 box to a $117.48 box. The reason behind that is just because of availability. It keeps getting talked about. There's a Greninja chase going on. That's what we mean by the whole gambling aspect of things. So are you willing to spend $118 to try and chase a $230 card? Is that really worth it to you when you look at the fun cost aspect of things? But this booster box has jumped up to the second most expensive one in Scarlet and Violet, partially because of availability. Supply just isn't there. You're not getting a whole lot of restocks or anything like that. Your LGS is probably sold out or has a limited amount available. And there's just none to order from distribution because they're not available out there right now. If we look at the total box value minus the box cost, so $118 is the cost of the Twilight Masquerade booster box. That's if you include that Greninja and Eevee. Your box value is expected to be $97.48. That means when you open up a Twilight Masquerade booster box, you should expect to lose at least $21 just by opening it up. If you take out that Greninja and Eevee, you should expect to lose $41 just to open up a booster box of Twilight Masquerade. So is that worth it? That's completely up to you to decide. We talk about fun cost being associated with everything that you do. Opening up Pokemon cards can be qualified as a form of entertainment. So when you go bowling or you go to a movie, you have that fun cost that's associated with doing that. You're spending money in order to have some sort of entertainment. Really no different, but you should never expect to make money when it comes to opening up Pokemon cards. But if you remove that Greninja and Eevee, you can expect to lose at least $40 just by opening up a booster box of Twilight Masquerade. So really just not worth it, but it's never going to be when it comes to opening up Pokemon cards. Like I said, you should never expect to make value or get your value back. It's all about the chase. It's all about that gambling side of things, that thrill of opening up that Greninja, but it's very difficult to do. And I wanted to throw out the data out there so you can make the best decision when it comes to spending your collection dollars. I hope you guys like it. I hope you appreciate it. If you do, please hit that subscribe button down below. Leave a like, leave a comment. It goes a really long way for the algorithm, but ultimately, thank you so much just for giving me your time, taking the time to talk about this. This is all very, very interesting to me, very fun information, and I hope it is for you too. So thank you so much. I'll be back tomorrow with another video. Love you guys. Until next time, peace.